Welcome back, and today we have a lot more stuff to talk about in terms of PlayStation VR 2 because I've been holding off creating a video on everything to do with the PSVR 2 until we get some official announcements on specs, how to maintain it, everything about the headset, and today we got it. We got the big one, PlayStation VR 2, the ultimate FAQ. This is exactly what I've been waiting for and what a lot of other people have also been waiting for in terms of the PSVR 2 headset. So let's jump in and have a look. I haven't seen this myself and we're going to go through it and see what Sony has to say about PSVR 2 in terms of everything. And you can even see the table of contents. There's so much here in terms of PSVR 2 contents and everything about it. So let's start with the first paragraph. As it states, we have had a look at the innovative PSVR 2 Sense controller, the system specs, and behind the headset and the launch window lineup. The system specs were very basic though, and I spent countless hours looking at these and I'd love some more clarification on certain things. Let's hope we get them in this article. We've already seen starting price. If you're as excited for this headset as I am and can afford it, you've probably already bought it. You've looked at the starting price, you know what you're getting yourself into, so let's skip through that. We've got the two launch options, of course, the base headset and the Horizon Call of the Mountain version. We have been talking about the specs for the HDR OLED display, 2000 by 240 pixels per eye, wider field of view than the PSVR 1. The haptic features are also mentioned here in terms of the two Sense controllers. We've also had a comment from the Pavlov devs also talking about this very recently, about specifically the triggers on the DualSense controllers. They've rigged those individually for each weapon to give them their own feel, which is awesome. The one USB Type-C cord that plugs directly into your PS5 console, and having the inside-out cameras, so no external cameras like the PSVR 1. They're really trying to push that comparison and show the player base that this is such a better device than the PSVR 1, and it is. Some clarification that it won't work with the PS4, but all of us expected that. Of course, there are OLED displays on both of these headsets. However, the OLED display for the PSVR 2 is by far the better one. We've already looked at the specs of the panel resolution, and you've got it there again. It is leaps and bounds ahead of PSVR 1. Refresh rate is pretty much the same, although we're going to be seeing higher fidelity games at these frame rates instead of games having to compromise to reach the frame rates. Although the lenses weren't adjustable on PSVR 1, you had to set your IPD through a really janky system by putting your face up to the PS camera and taking photos of your eyes. We've now got adjustable IPD, as we know. Field of view is bigger by 10 degrees. The same sort of accelerometers and motion sensing technology is in the headset, and all of this good stuff we already are aware of. However, we now have an official weight for the headset, which we didn't really have before, I don't think. We've had some people guessing how heavy it was. We're basing their guesses on early copies of the headset that they've been given for development. But here we have the official 560 grams for the PSVR 2 headset compared to the 600 grams of the PSVR 1. So we have a significant weight reduction. But the headset itself does seem to be bigger in terms of the width and the length, although it isn't as high, which is good to see. We have clarification on the two different viewing modes. We're going to have the VR mode, which is what you're going to be playing your VR games in, and cinema mode, which is exactly the same as the PSVR 1. This will just be a massive cinema screen that you can probably scale to be smaller if you want it to be, so you can watch your content or play your games on a flat big screen when you're not in VR. I know some people were hoping for a PS Home type of experience, but that just isn't going to happen. Sony don't really do that sort of thing with their PS headsets. As we've seen with PSVR 1, we're going to have a black void with the big screen on. But to be honest, cinema mode is completely fine with that, in my opinion. It'd be nice to have some virtual environments like Oculus has, but it's not the end of the world. Of course, we have HDR support. The cable, we have an official length, is 14.7 feet long. That is really long, and you probably won't need it to be longer, but I think there has been some testing, and you can extend the cable with attachments if you want to. Of course, they're third party, but they do work. We have the different play space styles. We've got room scale, where you can move around. Minimum area of 2 by 2 meters. We have sitting, 1 by 1 meter, and standing 1 by 1 meter, as long as you can move your arms freely. If you're new to VR, this will be interesting for you. If you're not new to VR, this is pretty much the standard. Customizing the play area is just like the Quest. You can set your boundary, but it'll scan your room like the Quest does and point out any objects there. As soon as you get to your boundary, it'll turn on see-through view, and I think it'll pause your game when you go through it. See-through view does have a button though, which is really good. I think you can change the binding on this button, but it's at the front of the headset that you press the function button and it shows you your surroundings. There's no recording option for the see-through view, which, to be honest, I think is a good thing. If you're streaming and your see-through view comes on, people are just going to see your room and it might take them out. So it's good that there's no recording option, and I'm assuming it'll carry over to streaming. You'll just see the game and not the see-through view. Does my room have to be dark? I mean, a lot of people use the light tracking and made their rooms dark for PSVR1. Not necessary for PSVR2, and it's recommended playing in a well-lit room. If you're used to the Quest tracking, this is also nothing new. It's nice to see the social screen is returning with the 2D format on your TV screen. It's interesting to see that it's only available when playing games in VR mode though, because if you were in cinematic mode with PSVR1, you could see your game on the social screen if you wanted to. So it's interesting that they seemingly won't show up if you're playing games in cinematic mode with the headset on. Now this next part is quite interesting on how to clean and maintain the PSVR2 headset, and this is slightly odd. There's no mention of a cloth being included with the PSVR2. With the PSVR1, you had a Sony branded cloth with all of the little PlayStation icons and buttons in the cloth, which you could clean your headset with and clean the lenses with. Doesn't seem like we'll get one of those with PSVR2, which is odd, and I don't know if I like that. It was really nice having a cloth that I knew I could rely on to clean my headset, and it doesn't seem like we're getting that at all. However, it does give you a guide on how to clean the headset. Use a soft dry cloth made specifically for lens cleaning. Maybe camera lens cleaning kits will help, so all good. Again, we've got a bunch of inclusive adjustment settings. The headset can accommodate people who wear glasses. There's the new adjustment dial for the lenses to go left to right, and it has the same release button and headband as the PSVR1 in terms of design and functionality. Again, they've kept the same ergonomic features that the PSVR1 had. Really good thing. The PSVR1 is one of the better designed headsets of the past few years, so comfort is a very big thing for it, and it's good to see that there are a few more comfort features like the adjustable lens dial and the integrated exhaust vent to stop fogging in the PSVR2. Of course, we have sensory feedback to the player's head through haptics in the headset. We have eye tracking, which there are loads of possibilities for this, as they mention. I mean, you've got menu selection like in Call of the Mountain, inventory selection and switching weapons like in Firewall. There's a lot to play around with this, and it's interesting to see what developers are going to take this feature. It's funny that they mention the headset has the PS symbols embedded in it, much like the DualSense controllers. I'm assuming the Sense controllers will also have these on them. We have got a built-in microphone, a power button, and a function button, but weirdly, there's no mention of volume control on the headset. This is something that was on the PSVR1, and I expected it to be here, but it's not, and I find that quite odd. So you're going to have to do that through the function menu, but oh well. We have the same stereo headphone jack placement as the PSVR1, so it will run along the back of the headset and be plugged in there for your headphones or earbuds. Of course, it's compatible with the Pulse headset if you own that, so keep that in mind. Okay, moving on, we're talking more about the Sense controller. This is interesting to see. They've added all of the specs that we've had for a while, but we do get a proper weight for them now, 168 grams, which is very light. People who've held these have also corroborated that they are very light controllers, but they do feel good. Now we have a list of all of the PSVR Sense controller features. We have the adaptive triggers, just like the DualSense controllers, haptic feedback, just like the DualSense controllers, finger touch detection, which is interesting, like Quest controllers. It's not quite finger tracking or individual finger detection quite as good as, say, the Valve Index, but it is there and it works like the Quest. And for what people have revealed who've played the headset, it works great and is good for the purpose. We have tracking rings across the bottom of the controller for tracking. No more light stuff, great to see. And of course, we've got all the buttons that you'd expect to be on a controller. We have the official retirement of the PS Move controller and the PS Aim controller. They're sitting on my shelf right now. I'm looking at them, and it's going to be sad to see them go, but that light tracking has had its time. Its time is well past, and now that's gone. Skimming through these next few points, syncing your headset or controllers with your PS5 is just like syncing your DualSense controller with a USB-C cable, and monitoring your Sense controller's charge is the same as the DualSense. Recharging can be done with the USB-C cable, or can be done with the charging station, which is sold separately. I myself has bought one of these because I bought the DualSense charging station on a sale, and I've loved that ever since, never having to worry about charging your controllers because they're sitting there and they always charge up after you're done with them, and they're good to go when you next pick them up. This will be even better with the PSVR2 Sense controllers because there aren't that many ports on the console, and I don't want to use them up particularly, so it's going to be nice just being able to pick my Sense controllers up knowing they're fully charged and ready to go at any time. What was interesting to note is that the PSVR2 Sense controller can't be bought separately to the headset. I'm assuming if one of yours breaks, you're going to have to contact Sony and get a replacement, and there's currently no way of just buying a new set outright. So let's hope that Sony are good on their refund or return policy or replacement policies for the Sense controllers. As we know, there are more than 30 games available for the launch window of PSVR2, most of which will be available for day one, but there are also more than 100 titles in development for PSVR2 overall, which is really exciting to know. Of course, games that are compatible will be branded as such, and also with the new PS5 beta and the coming update, you can sort your game library by PSVR or PSVR2, which is awesome to see. Of course, there's no backwards compatibility with PSVR2, which is sad, but most good games are getting a free upgrade to PSVR2 or a slightly paid upgrade to PSVR2, so you should be able to play most of your favorites on the new headset. Some games will be cross-gen. I'm imagining, say, Alvo and Zenith will be cross-gen because they're available on PS4 and PS5. Interesting that there will be physical disc releases for select titles in the future for PSVR2 games, but they'll just be digital at launch. Now, this section is going to be interesting for me because I'm a big content creator for VR stuff and non-VR stuff, and I use the share function on PS5 a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. So it's going to be interesting here to see what they've done with the different features in terms of sharing your content. Can I capture screenshots or gameplay capture of my PSVR2 game sessions? The create menu, luckily, is there for PSVR2, the same as PS5, and you don't have to leave VR mode. You can trim videos and share content with friends without leaving your game. That is amazing. I'm so relieved to have that because even though you can record your game sessions with PSVR1 with the Move controllers, it is incredibly janky. You've got to hold the share button to record your past hour-long experience, and there's no really way of starting and stopping the recording that easily because the controls are all done with one button and the button presses are so janky to use. This is such a relief seeing this here. And you can share screen just like you can with flat games, but there's no share play, which is understandable. Awesome to see you can broadcast yourself, of course, with the PS5 HD camera if you wish to, and that is all for recording. Pretty standard stuff. I was expecting we get the full share screen experience and share button experience of the PS5 with PSVR2, and it's great to have that confirmed. By default, the PSVR2 headset will shut off after 30 minutes if you're not wearing it, and exit the PSVR2 game that you're in, but you can change these in the power saving settings. And you can manually turn off the PSVR2 headset by using the power button on the headset, or going to Control Center and turning it off the same way you would turn off a controller. Interestingly, the UI for PSVR2 is pretty much the same as the PS5 console, just a little bit optimized. As we all expected, a TV isn't required for PSVR2 after you've set it up for the first time. So say if somebody is watching TV and you want to go on VR, you can just plug in your headset, don't need the TV screen, and play it all through there. Now, getting to the end of this, we have accessibility options with the PSVR2. All of them are available, except for zoom for PSVR2. So color correction, invert color, custom button remapping, and some games will support additional accessibility features. Of course, parental control is still present, and you can't have two PSVR headsets hooked up to the console at one time, which is understandable. I don't know why anyone would want to do that, but there you go. So that's pretty much everything. That raw recording was about 25 minutes. I'm sure it'll be shorter in the edit, but oh my god, is that a lot of features and everything we've wanted to know about the headset, and I'm very glad going forward we're getting more PSBlogs about it. A showcase or a state of play would be wonderful, but I don't think we're going to get one of those. But it's so good to get clarification on things through this. So thank you all for watching. If you're excited for the headset, let me know down below. Are there any features or options here that you've seen that excite you? Do let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. I'm going to be covering everything PSVR2 at launch week if I get my headset on time, fingers crossed. And I'll see you in the next video.